What's going on, everyone? Waiting for Mr. Chris to get in on this live stream here. Give us a second. We're going to be doing just Instagram on today's little Moto Talk. Got Dango in there, Dango Designs, Wolfpack. We got looking like Jawbone Store. Right on, guys. Thanks for joining in. And let's get him in here. Come on. Yes, I want to go live with. Get in here. Waiting for Chris. He's coming in. There he is. Can you hear me, Dick?
Yeah, I got you now.
Uh-oh. Looks like
we glitching out?
Yeah, my cord. It's okay. Hold on 1 second here, guys.
Heard you rapping off all those names, man. I was waiting for you to fire mine off.
Yeah, right? You're the main attraction for tonight.
What's going on, Nick? How are you?
Pretty good, Chris. How you doing?
Good. See if I can answer some questions.
Yeah, let's talk about some writing that you just did. Let's start with why don't you tell everyone who you are and where you're from and what we're going to talk about today.
I'm Chris Anderson, Bob's Chris Bobs on Instagram. I think we're going to talk about my most recent trip to Colorado, and I'm from Brea, over here near the Wolf Enduro headquarters.
Nice, down in SoCal.
Yes, sir.
Right on. So you went on a 3-day trip, and you took, what, 2 of your buddies with you?
Yeah, I went with Eric, EMAP 86, him and his dad. We went up in one truck. We went to Colorado and rode a couple spots in Colorado and then hit Moab on the way home. So 3 days of riding.
Sweet. So tell me about your riding history. When did you start riding? How long have you been riding?
I've been riding since the 3rd grade, whatever age that is. Started on 1982 KDX 80. Dad bought it at a garage sale, got it going, and took me to El Mirage Dry Lake Bed. That was it, man. That's where it started, and it never ended. Yeah.
That's awesome. And what is your current bike that you're riding right now?
2016 KTM 350 EXCF. Nice. Not running.
Not running. We'll get into
Not
that
running.
Part of the story. And actually, that's kind of why I wanted to have you on, because I felt bad. Everyone that knows Chris and have been following Chris on his Instagram feed, they know that he's been going through some bike problems because of this trip. He sunk the bike, but we'll get into that part of it and kind of explain where he's sitting with this thing. But, why don't you go ahead and start us off with this trip? What did you do to your bike or for yourself to prepare for this 3-day ride?
Same as any other trip, man. Most of us on this side are maintenance guys. We like to keep up on the bikes, except you, Matt. But, we changed the oil, checked the bolts, put an air filter skin on there, peeled the skin off after day 2. Just the basics, man. Take care of your bike every time. Take care of it like it takes care of you. Don't ride it into any big puddles, and, it'll be ready for a couple 100 miles. When we did Mexico, I think it was 490 miles in 3 days, and barely any issues with the bikes, man. You prep them right, and they'll take care of you.
Awesome. So why don't you start us off with this trip? What was the day that did you guys leave, like on a Friday or Thursday? When did you guys leave?
Yeah, we left at 4 in the morning on a Friday. It's basically a whole day of driving. And we got a place in Grand Junction, Colorado. Got an Airbnb and set up shop there. And the first day we rode Bangs Canyon, which is right out of Grand Junction. Not very far. It was a little bit not like Colorado that we expected. We knew what we were getting into, but it was a little bit drier, a little more deserty. Plenty of single track, plenty of riding, but it was nothing like day 2. Day 2, we packed up shop in the morning and we went up to Crested Butte, which was 11,000 feet elevation and more single track than we could handle.
So day 1 though, how was it on day 1 though?
It was good. It was dry. It was a little bit similar to some of the local riding we've done, some of the local single track. There was definitely some tricky sections. I think Butter Knife was the first trail we did, and it was definitely good. Definitely opened up for us. but it was nothing like the Crested Butte. The Crested Butte was the Colorado you think of when you think of Colorado.
So you're saying Butterknife, where you guys started, was just a nice ride, but it wasn't nothing spectacular that you were really gaga over?
We were gaga at the time, we were
Yeah.
loving it, but there was a little lack of trees. And anytime you can see the city while you're riding, as good as the riding may be, sometimes you don't want to see the city.
Right. I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but it was good. The riding was killer, man. Don't get me wrong. It was a single track, and luckily, we went the direction we went. Had we ran it the back way, it would have been a real long day. Not necessarily that we were going down, but it kind of went down into canyons and traversed around the mountains. It reminded me more of Moab than traditional Colorado, to be honest.
Got it. So you guys, what time did you guys get back on that first day?
We came back for lunch and then went back out, and we rode right out of our house. So we got an Airbnb, like I said, in Grand Junction, and Bangs Canyon was 7 miles out of Grand Junction. So we didn't even load up the bikes. We rode the bikes right out of the house. Yeah.
What kind of mileage did you guys do on that first day?
I don't think we did more than 60 miles on that first day, and 16 of it was to get there and back. So not too many miles. Good riding, but not too many miles.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the second day, what time did you guys get up and start that ride?
I think we left at 4:30 or 5. We had the bikes loaded up. We had access to the garage at our Airbnb, which was killer. And we loaded up, or we had everything loaded up. We got on the road. It was 2.5 or 3 hours. It was quite a drive out, but we made the most out of that day. I don't remember the miles, but I know we rode, all day, and it was a long drive back.
So what kind of terrain are we talking on that second day?
That was the killer stuff, man. That was the single track up in the mountains. You'd be going through like a valley, and there'd be water in the bottom, like streams, and not lakes, but little ponds. And you would see where the beavers had dammed it off, and some of it smelled terrible. And, you'd come through there, and then you would dip into the woods, like the cliche single track surrounded by trees. And then you would just pop out into these valleys, man. You'd be riding through, and we got a little bit of color. I tried to send you some videos, but we got some color, man, a little bit of fall up there, and it was good. I'm pretty sure it's all under snow now.
Right.
Yeah, so we got it just in time.
So have you been there before, or is this your first time?
No, what it is I take a couple weeks off a year, and I was trying to put something together, and Eric and his dad, Eric being one of my main riding buddies, eMath 86, him and his dad work together, and they're able to take planned vacations. So they took Friday, Monday, and Tuesday off. I took the whole week off, and we all took off Friday, and we rode Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then we drove home Tuesday. So Friday and Tuesday were driving days. So it was killer, man. I tried to get one of those trips in. I think 6 or 8 months ago, I went to Moab by myself. So luckily, I wasn't by myself this time. Always nice to have some people with you.
Yeah, I saw that when you went last time.
Especially when you get to that story of your bike breaking down in the bottom of King Creek. That's where it's really nice to have good friends.
I'm going to throw some shout-outs real quick here. I'm following on another phone and just seeing who's logging in. We got National Forest Riders. They logged in. They're watching. We got Tarak, which is my buddy Luke. Everyone knows Luke from WLF. We've got the San Diego Dual Sport Riders. They joined in. And we've got a whole mess. That's great. We got a whole mess of people. Golden State Dual Sport Riders. Awesome, guys. I really appreciate everyone joining in. It's just a simple live stream. 2 guys talking about a recent trip and some riding. Hopefully opening up the doors to some possibilities of people taking these same trips in these same areas. Again, just trying to give back to the community and talk on live stream about these rides. So let's get back to your ride here. Is there any certain areas of that day 2 that are like you would go back and ride it like 2 or 3 times if you had the chance, like it was like prime?
It was prime. Not that we regretted the first day. It's tough to drive from California, to where we had stayed in Grand Junction. I think it was like 12 hours or 11 hours, which is a pretty decent haul. And then the drive from there to Crested Butte was slower. It wasn't that wide open. I think it was Highway 70. So we're glad we split it up. But if we had a chance to do it again, or, we're already talking about the next trip, and there were places up there in Crested Butte, and I think it would be worth the drive to make it all the way up there and set up shop,
And just like hammer that out for the weekend.
There's so much up there, man. There's just so much. And it's not that there wasn't a whole lot in Grand Junction. It was just different type of riding. And like I said, you get up in the forest, you get in and out of the forest, the single track, the valleys, high elevation. So the juice was worth the squeeze. It was a little more of a drive, but it was worth it.
Definitely the stuff that you're more into.
Exactly.
Yeah. I hear you. Comparing that to what we have around here in the SoCal's, Central Valley, what could you kind of say, like, it's anything around us, or is it just on its own level?
Yeah,
I've never rode there. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I guess maybe Kennedy Meadows a little less rocky. I feel like, you get up into Kennedy Meadows, some of there's a little bit rocky, a little bit whooped out, not in a bad way, good amount of rocks. But I felt like it was a little less chunky and a little more flowy up here, which was kind of nice. I like to cover some ground rather than just crawl all day. But there were definitely some challenging sections. We did get to one trail where we had to throw in the flag and turn around.
Really?
But, yeah, we got to one. It was the end of the day. It was a long loop, and it was just a nasty, nasty, nasty section. And you get there, and there's three of you. Me, the guy who will ride right into a 4-foot puddle. And I'm like, let's go. Let's take the high side. And everyone, there's like the low side and the high side. And you're on the side of a cliff. If either one's gonna really do you wrong, but you get all the way there, and I don't need to tell you, it's hard to justify turning around. But you make that group decision, and it was, sun was going down. I think it was about 4 o'clock. We were pretty reasonably far from the truck. We had the loop planned out. We were working off a map, and had there been many more of these sections, it would have been a very long evening on the bikes. God forbid anything went wrong. Yeah. So we tapped out at the end of the day on one of the trails.
It's hard to make those decisions, but you know what? At the same time, if you're that far and you really, really want to take on that next, section, it gives you all the more reason to go back and do it again and actually handle it. Like you're saying, go back to that certain area and actually just hammer that out for the whole weekend other than just trying to fit it in. So it's totally good. It gives you a reason to go back. That's good. It does.
And for what it's worth, man, that Crested Butte, there's a bunch of cabins at the bottom. They look like rental cabins. And if you could get one of those cabins, you could ride for 5 days and not ride the same trail. You know what I mean?
Really. We've got most hit spots. So it looks like we've got someone that's from the area.
Could have used his advice before we came. We're working off a paper map that we got out of the trailhead kiosk when we pulled in. But we went there. We knew what we wanted.
Right. Yeah. We got anti-gravity batteries. Just signed in, and guess what? I'm charging my devices off of. Just a little shout out to you guys. Got to give those guys some love with a good product. But anyways, we'll get back to these stories. So what else happened on that day too? Everything that was smooth sailing on the way back. Was there anything that we could add to the story on that second day?
No. Luckily, Eric has the Garmin GPS. So, I work off the phone. I know we had talked about what GPS people use and stuff. I use the Motion X on my phone. I do have a TrailTech Voyager, but only get what you load onto the Voyager. And we didn't have any tracks before we went out. So luckily, Eric has, I think he has the Montana or something. So the trails were coming up on his GPS. So that combined with the trail map that was free, we were able to put it together, and not get into too much trouble.
What time did you guys get back into town? You said it was already turning dark?
The sun was going down when we got back to the trucks, and we didn't get home. We didn't get back to Grand Junction until like 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
It was a couple-hour drive home. Yeah, it was a long day. I don't remember the miles, but man, we covered a good amount of single track, and we know we want to go back.
So at this point, before we'll get into the next day, when I think that's going to be more of the kicker of this whole story that you're putting together here. But before we get into that, your bike, like on this kind of a ride you were doing, what's like a couple items that you're like you must have that you're so thankful to have on your bike at this point of the trip? Like, give me something to So others that are trying to set up a bike might want to clue in on setting up their bike for a big ride like this.
You know, I get a little little shout out to Matt Hovko. He doesn't like the hand guards. They're a little heavy. I've had them since day one, so I'm kind of used to them. I'm going to be riding Matt's bike in Vegas this weekend, and I have ridden it in the past. Man, when you ride a bike with nothing up there on the bars, between the phone, the hand guards, the mirror, when you ride a bike that doesn't have all that crap up there, boy, does it feel like a whole different machine. With that
like you're
said,
like on a mountain bike or something, huh?
You know, and I'm going from a 350 to a 500, and for me to say that about his 500, it just feels good, you know. But if you look at one of the videos I sent you, man, I clipped a tree with my handlebars, and if I didn't have the handlebar guards, I don't know if it would be the side of my hand, if it would have been my clutch lever, but I almost went off the cliff. I hit that tree so hard. So I like hand guards, man. I like my hand guards. If you ever see mine in person, you'll know they've been through the ringer and done their job. And running on those stock levers, man, they've held my levers the whole time. So that and radiator guards, you know, radiator guards, I believe, are a number one. And for anyone listening that's considering this, get them early, put them on early. Eric's dad bought him late, and he had a broken bolt, and they had to tap one of the holes just to get them to fit. I got mine in the beginning. They went right on, you know, and they're running still.
Or if you just, you know, you drop the bike a couple times on a rock, you could tweak the radiator, and then now you're trying to, you know, it's just forcing it all together. So what guards are you running on your bike?
I have the bulletproof designs with the little KTM logo cut out. I got a little KTM happy in the beginning. Everything's got a KTM logo. Everything's orange. So
those are the ones that I had on my 500 on my 2015 when I got it. Same ones, and I have bulletproof on this one too, but just not the KTM one. But yeah, no, that's a good guard to get. What's another item? I mean, you're running an aftermarket seat, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a shorty, man. I got the lower seat. That's something also I put on Matt's bike for Vegas. He's on a 16 500, and I have it here in my garage since he let me borrow it to kind of work on my bike, switch parts, and diagnose. And I just thought, you know what, let me see if the seat fits, and the seat went right on. So I'll be running my Seat Concepts lower seat this weekend on that bike.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So that's a couple. What's that, like 3 different items there that are good, you know, first time building out a bike, something to look at for some of these big rides that come in really handy. The guards, I 100% agree on those, because you'll take out a radiator so fast, and if you don't take it out, you're going to bend it up, and it's going to make it hard for you to add guards to it later on down the road. So let's get into day 3, when I think the story gets a lot more exciting, and I think exciting to hear, but probably at the time frustrating for you, obviously, because of what happened.
You know, it was frustrating, but anyone who's been involved in a recovery or in a situation like this, frustration is not going to help. Boy, did I have a lot that I was digging deep, but I was with 2 solid guys. They were super positive, man. Shout out to you, Eric, and his dad. Not one complaint, man. It took us 4 hours to get the bike out. There was no towing it. I mean, imagine getting a bike through John Bull and Gold Mountain. You're just not towing it, you know.
So let's back up. What time did you guys start on this day ride?
I want to say we didn't get on the trail until maybe 9, maybe a little later. We had parked up closer to Moab, and we rode down on whatever highway it is through the hole in the rock, and then we jumped onto Cane Creek, and we were going to ride Cane Creek up into Moab, and then maybe go up towards like Chicken Corners, or like head back into Moab. And we started on the Cane Creek, I believe around 9, maybe 9:30. No, not a super early start. And we were having a good time. We were going, and we were going to stick to the Jeep Trail, which seemed fun enough. You know, it was very scenic. If anyone's been in Cane Creek, man, the way it bends around, it's pretty killer. When you pull in there, it's pretty killer looking. And we're looking down on this motorcycle-only trail, and we're looking down, and finally Eric pulled over, and he goes, dude, we have to go ride that. So we turned around, and we went, you know, a mile back, and we dropped down into Cane Creek. And the motorcycle-only section, which is short-lived, assuming, you know, you get your bike in and out without sinking it.
So wait, give me an idea what this motorcycle only trail was? Are we talking like like, was it just an opening just for a dirt bike and you went through it and it was single track? What are we? What's
So in
scenario?
Colorado, we found one thing. Back to Colorado, a huge shout out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of labeled marked trails. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
maps really match up, kind of better than Big Bear. Everything. You get to the little gate where only a motorcycle will fit through. I mean, we were really impressed with the trail marking up there. And this
Okay.
one, you were kind of on a Jeep trail, and it would go to the left, and there was just a sign, you know, just a typical motorcycle sign. And it said motorcycles and quads only to the right. And it went down, very small water crossing, just like a stream that dropped off, nothing. And you would go, and you were kind of traversing along the side, and the Jeep trail was like up over here, and you were just kind of dropping down into Cane Creek. And we were doing it, and it was fine, and we're going down, and we got to a point where it was real deep. There was limited tire tracks. We thought we saw some tracks, and Eric's GPS and my GPS said we were within 20 feet of the trail. And
Really?
from my experience, you know, L8 V2V, Mexico, when you're within 20 feet of the track, keep following that little dot. Follow the line on your GPS, man. You're gonna find it, you know. And
Right.
we ran into that on LA Barstow to Vegas, you know, before I think it's Red Rock Canyon. It dropped us into a wash, and we just said, just follow the line. It'll be a trail somewhere. And it was hell for a quarter mile, and then we found the trail. Well, we got to a water crossing, and Eric, being the smarter one, was a little more hesitant, and he kind of dropped the front of his bike into the water, and he was saying it was deep. I also get from Luke, old Tarakadak, that you got to go. When you get to the water crossings, he always said, he's like, you can't sit there and overthink it. You got to go. So I sat, and I said, hey, is this the trail? And he goes, we're within 20 feet of the trail. And I looked at my GPS, and I took that thing in like the Titanic, man. That thing sank so fast. I just went straight in and straight down. And I, like a dummy, I hit the gas. Typical, I'm always the one. Wide open throttle. I'm like, I'm going to get out of this. And it went up, and the front was up, and then the whole back of the bike just kind of sank. And then it just shut her down. And I got to push it to the end of the water. And Eric and his dad, who were dry, they got to walk, you know, almost waist deep water. They got to walk to the other side. And, you know, if you know anything about the 350s, the spark plug is super deep in there. The 500, the spark plug's right on the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the KTM kit that they give you, unlike the Yamahas, I'm come from the Yamaha world, I had no way of removing the spark plug on the trail. And I have since bought a KTM tool for $25, nice and cheap, exactly like what comes in the Yamaha kit. And it wasn't in the kit, man, so we took it out. I had a towel, drained out, put it straight up and down, opened the throttle, and a cup of water came out, man. A solid cup of water just dropped out. And I had a towel, so I dried off the air filter. We pushed it back. Eric and his dad helped me push it back through the water, because you're not gonna, you got to turn around. So we turned around, we let it sit for a while, and I told him, hey, if it fires up, man, put your helmets on, we're going. And it fired up, dude. That thing lit right up, and I throw my stuff on real quick, and I went about a quarter mile. And anyone listening, I'm open to suggestions, not stupid ones, man. I've been troubleshooting for 2 weeks. But it shut off, man. It loaded up, and it just, and it shut off. And there's a bridge on Cane Creek, and it shut off right at the bridge, man. And I kicked it a few times, but it was just dead. And since then, I've done a lot of work. I got a leak down test kit that I'm going to run here tonight after I hang up with you.
So, from when you started and you got to this trailhead and sank the bike, how far are we talking?
You know, I was looking at my GPS, and I was going to measure it off. I don't think it was that far. I don't think it was much more than 3 miles, maybe.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, man, you shut your bike off and start pushing it through 3 miles of hell. And it's, I can't express how much work it was. We had got to a wall at one point. So it shut off at the bridge, and we got to sections, and we would push it, and Eric and his dad would take off. They would park their bikes, and they would come walking back. While they were doing that, I would walk to the top of the hill, take my vest off, because I was fully loaded, man. It's the beginning of the day. Take my vest off, take my helmet off, walk down to the bike. I had a tow strap hooked up. Eric was pulling from the front. I was pushing from the bars, and his dad was pushing from the back. And we would just pick off a small section at a time, and it took us about 4 or 5 hours to get it out of there.
So so there was like no like going peg to peg and at least attempting to use a bike to try to get you through and walking with it or anything?
I have the tug strap on the front of my bike,
Uh-huh.
and when we finally got to a reasonable point, we hooked up to Eric's dad's bike, and he has like the KTM grab handle on the side, and we hooked that to my strap, to my tug strap on the front, and it was pulling good, but there was such a small amount of area that we were able to tow each other, you know. And then finally we got out of there and we were able to tow the last, I don't know, mile, quarter mile. And I wish, you know, I was in such a fluster. I wish I had my GoPro on. I was breathing so hard into my helmet, I took my GoPro off and strapped it to the front of my bike with the Dango mount. But I wish I had it because, man, he was towing me up a foot of water. We're going up a creek, literally riding up a creek, and he's just towing me. And we would get to the super nasty rock section, and we would unhook the tow strap and tug it through. It was, I think they picked me up at 4:30.
So I just got a comment here. Haberoth1234, Mike from Canada, had him on a couple weeks ago. He said that he missed some of the video, and he wanted to see if you have drained the fuel system and inline filter. I'm guessing you've already drained that whole fuel system on the thing.
Is this B-hole that's talking? B-hole 78?
No, Haberoth from Canada.
Okay, I've been
cool.
I was following him before he was doing his Mexico thing. Loyal follower. Yep. But hey, man, I'm way beyond that, guys. I have gone through the whole fuel system. I've borrowed a fuel tank from my buddy's 500. It's not the fuel pump. I bought a new fuel injector. It's not the fuel injector. I've cleaned out every fuel line that I could clean out. I've swapped out the gas. Again, I tried a whole different tank with the fuel pump. My valve clearances are good. The only thing I haven't done so far, which I'm at the point, is a leak down test. You know, we even put my buddy's 500 ECU in there. I know the bike's not going to run, but I would like to think it would at least pop. The bike's not popping, man. It just turns, and it has spark. You know, I put a new spark plug in. Of course, I changed the oil. There's no water in the oil. My thing is I went into this puddle at wide open throttle. So I'm wondering if my valves are in clearance, but I'm wondering if I damaged a valve or if you know, what's up with the rings. You know, I haven't done a compression or a leak down test. So that's where I'm at, man. It's a bummer.
Well, let's hope for the best. Definitely blows that you had this problem. Excuse me. But so you said it took about 5 or 6 hours to get you out. Well, so what time did you finally get back to the truck?
We got back up to the highway by the hole in the rock. It's like a big store location thing. But we got back up to the highway. I want to say we got back up to the highway around 4:30, and then they hopped on the highway and went back and got the truck. And I just kind of hung out in the shade.
So this you sunk the bike before noon.
Oh yeah. I sunk the bike at like 11 o'clock, maybe 11 at the latest. You know,
wow.
It was a long day, and it was a humbling experience in the aspect that we do so much single track. You know, I cannot imagine some of the spots we've been in Kennedy Meadows, even Big Bear, man. You cross Devil's Hole, you're on that single track for God, that bike was so heavy. After what seemed like only a half a mile, that bike got heavy fast.
In your boots and all your gear and everything.
And the sun was kicking. Eric asked me a few times, "Are you okay?" He goes, "You're about as red and sweaty as a human can possibly be." And I was okay. You know, I wasn't dizzy, but I was hurting, you know.
Yeah. I got another guy. So Tyler over from the coast, he's asking saddles. Are you running saddles for this kind of a ride?
No, like saddlebags?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. These were all like day trips. You know, we had the truck located somewhat centrally with bailouts. You know, it's a matter of getting to the bailout, kind of like we ended up in Cane Creek. But no, I have the giant Loop Moto saddlebags. I had bought them for that Mexico trip in March, and I've used them.
Yeah, these trips aren't really needed to. Yeah.
I'm also the guy, I don't mind a little bit of weight on the back. Hell, I'm the guy that throws a beer in my Camelback. And luckily I did, man. I had to wait under that tree for an hour before they came back in the truck. You bet I enjoyed that warm beer.
So you get back to the truck, or you get back to the rock, and they go and get the truck and come back. I mean, you guys are done at this point. You guys go back to your Airbnb or what?
Yeah, you know what? We did a hotel in Moab. The reason we did Moab was to get one day of riding in. I had never done Cane Creek, but I've been up on like Chicken Corners and stuff. So my
Mm-hmm.
goal was just to take us Cane Creek, Chicken Corners, and then see what we want to do. I had more stuff after that, but it was also to cut down the drive. It's only 10 hours from Moab, so you get up early. It doesn't really kill you, to get home. So that was kind of our reasoning. By the time we had got back to check into the hotel, loaded the bike and everything, it was like 5:30. The sun was creeping, and we did a little bit of research on where we were, and we went to, I believe it was called Dead Horse Springs, just in the truck with the bikes in the back, and we drove up to Dead Horse Springs and caught the sunset going down behind the mountains, which was really killer. But
So did you sat there with your dead bike and watched the sunset?
hey, I would feel bad for me, but I feel bad for Eric and his dad. They sat there with two running bikes next to my dead bike, So again, huge shout out to Eric. You find out, show some true colors when you get out there in certain situations like this, because I was the one that wanted to kick and scream, and they never complained one time,
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, is there any more to the story of this 3-day trip? Because I know at this point your bike's dead and it's pretty much just pack up and be done, or what?
That's it, man. We left the bikes in the truck. I've held on and continue to hold on to a little bit of faith in the aspect that the bike ran after. I rode it a little ways in the canyon after it took a dip. I don't know what that means. We're starting to wonder how much water was in that combustion chamber or whatever. I was wide open throttle when I sank. So we'll see what the damage is. Again, it turns over, but it has no attempt to fire up.
Turns over and it has spark.
Has spark when you pull the plug out, but I mean, it doesn't pop, it doesn't backfire, it just turns.
Do we know if it's getting fuel?
It's getting fuel, for sure. It's getting fuel. So I had the whole subframe off and everything. I could see in there. I could see the valves going up and down. And when you hit the on switch, you can see one spurt of fuel. And as you pump the motor, as the motor turns, you can see it pulsing fuel into there. I even went old school, bought some starter fluid a couple days ago, shot some in there. It didn't do anything. So I'm getting desperate, man. I'm getting desperate over here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say it's sad, and I do have another ride that I kind of briefly want to talk to you about that I think you had a way better time on, and had a very positive weekend. And this was last year. It's a ride that I'm about to go on this weekend, and I went on last year as well. But for the people joining in that are getting ready to leave for Bishop, I think actually, you know what? You were riding with Eric and his dad last year at Bishop.
That's right, man. Matt came out.
Matt.
He got forced into working Friday, but he drove up by himself, and we all hit it on Saturday.
So I remember we ran into each other over at Bishop, and for the people that are listening, so Bishop is a ride that's happening this weekend. It starts on Friday, runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a big dual sport event. We talked about it before on another live stream, and I wanted to kind of chat with Chris here about Bishop as well before we get off, because he actually did some routes that I didn't take last year, and I want to know about them because I'm thinking about doing them this year. So, tell us. I think so. You guys went up to Mammoth last year on Friday or Saturday?
So we went Saturday. We had caught, I don't remember when you came in, but I know Doug and Luke pulled in Friday when we were literally on the bikes, helmet on. So we didn't wait around for them. And then I think Saturday we were committed to a longer ride. Just wanted you guys did the Woodcutter Trail on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to ride with you guys, but on Friday we did. I had looked at my GP or my tracks. I think it was Coyote Retreat or Coyote Canyon. So if you went out of Bishop, it would. Do you remember it? I see you smiling.
No,
do you remember?
I'm smiling because my wife got in here and asked if I wanted Chinese for dinner, and there's an ongoing joke about that.
Just making sure. I wasn't sure. I was like, man, I had a good time on Coyote Canyon. What are you laughing at?
So, no, yeah. So we did Coyote, I believe it was, and then we did Woodcutter. So you guys did that on Friday.
Yeah. And the Coyote, I enjoyed that, man. It was that fire road up there and then a little bit of 4x4 trail. But, man, you got back to that body of water in the back. And then the whole way back was single track, double track, and some challenging sections for sure. I like that it dropped you into whatever's below Bishop. I think Lone Pine, and there was that barbecue place. So we stopped there. We got the lunch for the barbecue, and then we went to Black Canyon. I believe it was Black Canyon, which had single track. Unfortunately, I got a flat tire and got separated from Eric and his dad, so I didn't get the best of Black Canyon, according to what I was later told. But all the more reason to get some moose bibs. I get it. I know where you're going to go with this, Nick, on the moose bibs. Or carry your own tools, because we had split up tools, and I was picking up the tail end, and I got a flat, and I beat that horn, man, and they didn't hear me, and they kept going, and they ended up going down a single track. I think it was Black Canyon, and they went down like the point of no return. You know, the spot where you're just not going to turn around.
Right.
And sure enough, I'm sitting there in the shade, and that was a tubeless failure. So that was that turned into a long day. I just rode it back on a flat, and huge shout out to Riley at Mad Jack Racing. He's
the one that took care of you last year.
He took care. Oh man, we had the tube and everything at the truck, and I took it over there. I'm like, how much? And so he took care of it. Basically, cut the tubeless out and put the tube in for the next day. Got me back.
And so, again, if some people don't know what we're talking about, Chris was running what's called tubeless. It's an inner bladder that you fill that up to 100 psi, and it basically locks the tire to the rim. It acts as a rim lock, and then you fill the tire up with air. The pro is that you can actually adjust your air pressure down to pretty much 0 psi. If you get a puncture in the tire, you can plug it on the trail, put air in it, and you keep on going. This is a different system than running just a regular tube or ultra heavy duty tube inside your tire. I'm a big fan of mooses at this point. I was turned on to them by a buddy of mine here in town in Bakersfield, my buddy Steve. He rides a lot with me, and he turned me on to them, and ever since I ran them, I have not turned back. And the Nitro mooses, the brand that I run, are an actual insert, unlike what Chris was running. So even if you get a nail in your tire, you just pull it out and keep on going. And what are you running on now, Chris?
I have a moose bib, a Nitro Moose in the front, and Bridgestone Ultra Heavy Duty in the rear.
So you can adjust tire pressure in the rear for your liking, but then you have the moose up front to where you can hit whatever you want. You don't have to worry about pinch flats or anything like that.
That's where it's at, man. I like that. It's good peace of mind in front. Unfortunately, the reason my combo is the way it is money. It's just I mow through tires, especially rear tires, and then those bibs aren't cheap, you know? So for me, the winning combo is a bib in the front and the ultra heavy duty in the rear.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got a different formula and whatever you're happy with, and it matches. The performance matches what you're trying to achieve for riding. Again, it just all depends on who you are. But so you got your flat tire taken care of, and then you were back on the trail for Saturday.
And we bit off, not more than we could chew, but we bit off a lot for Saturday. I believe we were on, unfortunately, a little more of an adventure bike route. There was for sure single track up near Mammoth. There were fun sections, but it was 240 miles. And it was a lot of dust, man. It was a lot of dirt and a lot of dust. We ended up all the way to June Lake. We came down through Mammoth. We got gas in Mammoth. But it was just a long day. It was a little bit flatter than anticipated.
So, like, how many miles at the start of it was just completely two-track the whole way up until you got up there, or what?
No, it was like dirt road, two-track all the way up. You went up around the backside of Lake Crawley, and then you went up through some fun stuff. I guess would be like opposite side of Mammoth, like past the hot springs. And it was fun. There were fun sections up there, but to get to there was really dry and really long. And then you got up there, and there was only 4 of us, but it was dry up there. Then after Mammoth, after June and Mammoth, was a good amount of fun single track, a lot of downhill stuff, real flowy, and then back into the farmlands, and we had to go back around Lake Crawley. And I mean, I know Rich was saying that you guys were some of the last ones on Saturday, but I'm gonna take that challenge, because we came in and there wasn't a seat in the house on Saturday. Food was gone, raffles were done. We walked in, kind of poked our head in, we're like, okie dokie, like. That was also when I learned a stock headlight on the KTM is just not going to cut it. I mean,
Yeah, no,
we
you guys
rode
came
it
back.
dark.
You guys came back way later than we did.
It was
We
rough,
came back in
man.
the dark, but it was not. It was. We still made dinner and all that stuff, and you guys were way past that.
Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna say it wasn't fun. We had fun. We covered a lot of miles. But if I did it again, I would probably stick closer to Bishop, personally. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I need to sort out what our plan's going to be for this weekend. Not sure yet. I wanted to go up to Mammoth and do that loop, but I don't know.
It's long. You know, I know Chris Roner's in your group, and I would just. I don't know. I don't know what else is up there. I just know I think we did like the Mammoth long loop. I forget what it was called. It was something long, and they weren't lying. It was long.
Yeah, we all know Chris, doesn't want to go up there and do just, 2-track fire roads. Not this Chris, but we're talking about Roner, sorry. And I don't either. I mean, I'm down to go and see some cool stuff, but I want to put in some. I'm not scared of the 240 miles. It's 240 miles on, gravel roads. Yeah.
And it's just the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. As I was telling you up in Colorado, you had to get through that drive, but the juice was worth the squeeze once you got there.
Right.
One thing about old Roner that I know from Mexico is that dude is not afraid to go 70 miles an hour for a very long, extended period of time on a dirt road.
Yeah.
That guy's a wide open throttle guy, man. My little 350 couldn't keep up with him in Mexico.
Yeah. I got some people that logged in here, and I gotta give a shout out to. I got my little dude, little Nick V. He signed in. He's watching. He gave me a thumbs up. I got Gavin Bentley. He also signed in, and he's saying hi. I got high voltage. Let's see, like a welder 270. Got a bunch of people signing in, so that's good and watching. And just let everyone know that if you didn't catch the whole live stream, I will be downloading this and I'll be putting it up and uploading it to Facebook, and I'm also going to upload it to YouTube as well. My Facebook is Nick Vasquez. That's going to be on my personal, and then on YouTube it'll be uploaded to my Nick V Media YouTube channel, and you can rewatch it on there. So just give everyone a heads up on the replay. But so anything about Bishop? Any other hey, you guys need to go and check this out, and from your side of things, because I already know, I know what I want to go and check out, but for anyone that's listening, is there any hey, if you're going to Bishop this weekend, you need to go and do this section because it is just badass. So, which one did you like the most?
I think it was Coyote Creek or Coyote Canyon. I thought that was killer. It was pretty versatile. It was open to almost all skill levels. Coming down, if you're going to struggle and stuff like that, you're going to struggle. Coming down would have been more challenging for someone that's not used to that. But other than that, the whole loop was doable. And I thought it was so cool. You got up there, we were in October and it wasn't snowing yet. There was a bunch of snow. It was like the backside of a glacier with that water. And we stopped and ate a little food there. I thought that was super cool. And most people are able to get there, whereas the Woodcutter and the Black Canyon's a little more single tracky. You kind of have to commit or earn it, whereas I felt like that Coyote Canyon was it was beautiful when you got up there and not too challenging.
And so you guys didn't do Woodcutter, correct?
No, we didn't.
Okay. Yeah, no, the Coyote one was fun. I agree with that one. I agree with it, definitely.
With that being down there below Bishop, you could do that Coyote Canyon and go across the 395 to, I think it was Black Canyon or Black Trail, something black.
Yeah.
And that just a decent loop, you know what I mean? And it's almost a half-day loop. You could get lunch after that and pick something else off,
And that's the other thing that I'll throw in there too, is like what you're saying is that on this Bishop ride, if you notice the tracks, you'll have like these tracks that they're kind of formulated together for you to go on. But if at any point you want to jump off of that and connect up to another one of the trails, there's a lot of intersecting trails that are all mapped out. I already got the GPS tracks because I signed up on the ride, and they've already emailed them all out. But it's a pretty cool deal, because if you get yourself into something that you're not really comfortable with, you can jump out of it at a certain point, or the opposite. If you kind of not really digging it, and you can find another section that you want to go and try, you can cut across and link it all up. So I can't say it enough. I like the Bishop ride. I do, and that's why I'm going back.
I like it too. I like the way they give you the tracks and the options. A couple things that Rich had pointed on that I thought were really neat was when you had first got there, they had the really big printouts or billboards, and you could go and see each track, and you could see where they crossed each other, because it's tough. You know, I pull it up on an iPad, and I like to look at all the tracks as one to try to put something together, but until you're there, you don't know. So I thought that was cool that they had it up on the big boards so you could actually see.
Well, not just that. They had it up on the big boards where you go up and actually look at that section by itself, yes. But they also had someone manning that board, and if you had questions, there was someone that actually knew about that section, and that was also nice too, because we could ask them like, hey, how bad is this, or hey, you know, what if, or whatever. And there was guys that, you know, man that section track in the auditorium to tell you what's going on, which is awesome. You know what I'm saying? It's
that
totally
was
different
killer.
level. Yeah,
that was a killer setup. One thing I'll piggyback off of that Rich had also said, good and bad. So I'll start with the bad. They check your bike, man. They check your bike big time. I'm not saying I'm the guy without a spark arrestor, but you better make sure your blinkers are working. You better make sure your muffler's packed, your decibels are good, because these guys are sticklers, man. I mean, the tech inspection, I was a little surprised by. I'm ready for it. We ride here in SoCal. We have FMF, spark arrestor. We're ready. Right. But I was a little surprised, man. They did the rev out test. They did the spark arrestor test. They checked the blinkers, lights. I was a little surprised by the bike inspection. With that said, I was very impressed. We were leaving as a group of 3, and they said, "Who's," just like Rich said, "Who's in your group? What trails do you plan on riding? What time do you plan on getting back?" And when you got back, they asked you to check in. So when Eric and his dad had got back, they had told them, we got separated from one of our guys. I was back at the hotel already. I beeline back, but I thought that was super cool.
If I remember correctly, you actually didn't go and check back in. You came back to the hotel trying to sort out.
I didn't know to check in because at the time, Eric is the one that put our names down when we were leaving. I rode right past the guy at the gate. I was so excited. Eric's like, no, the guy took our names this morning, asked what trails we're riding. So Eric's the one that went and told the guy, hey, we got a guy we're missing, but he's at the hotel. Cause I went to the hotel, I took my tire off and carried my tire over to Mad Jack and help me, It's one of those moments. But I thought that was really cool, especially, again, to piggyback off of what Rich had said a few weeks ago. Dude, if you're by yourself or if you just have 1 or 2 buddies, man, it's a killer ride, from the organization to the guidance to them keeping an eye on you, making sure you come home at night,
Yeah. And this isn't the only ride that's just like that. I've pumped it up. You're now pumping it up. Rich pumped it up. We just enjoyed the whole atmosphere and the whole ride from start to finish of what it provided. And I'm not saying that that's the only one out there, because there is actually a ton of other rides that are put on that are equally as fun and organized. And I'll just toss out 2 of them. You got Big Bear. Big Bear in June. The Big Bear Trail Riders Club, they put that on, and it is an awesome ride. And then the other one that's another big ride that's pretty cool to be a part of is the LAB to V.
It's a staple, kind of.
Yeah, and LAB to V, they tested our bikes as well,
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I've been on a handful of these organized rides now, and some are more organized than others. Sure. Some are definitely different structure. Big Bear Trail Riders knows how to do it. I love their Barstow to Ridgecrest. I think it's an invitation only, so you have to be a member to get the email. But that's hands down my favorite ride of the year is Barstow to Ridgecrest. You ride up there, you stay in the hotel. We watch Supercross. I think it's in January. We watch Anaheim 1, ride home the next day. That's a killer ride. Big Bear Trail Riders. LAB2V is a killer ride. But I feel like this Bishop ride, is it Ventura County Motorcycle Club? Is that who does it? Yep. I just felt like it was a little more organized. It was structured. It was a little strict, but it was on point, man. They did it right,
It was very structured and had multiple choices. A lot of these other ones that we go on, it's pretty much either easy route or
hard or easy. Hard or easy.
That's it. And some of them aren't even like that. No, LAB to V had a couple of hard route sections that you had to take off, but that's relatively all you have to choose from is, are you going to do the hard route or are you going to do the easy route, and that's it. It's a great ride. I've got I think I have 2 guys that are going up for the first time that's going to be doing the Bishop ride. Actually, no, I think all 3 of the guys that are going up with me. I don't know if Roner's done it yet or not. But I got a couple other guys that are going to go, and we're going to ride, and then I don't know who else we're going to meet up with out there. But it's going to be fun times. It's going to be fun times.
Yeah, it's
so
guaranteed to be fun.
So I appreciate all that information on that. You know, just because we're starting to get to the end of this live stream, I got some questions for you. So basically, again, you told us, you know, some about your bike and everything, but I got a question is if you're gonna if you have a destination to go and ride, and you haven't been before, or if you have been there, like what is the one that's on your like target to go and ride, like somewhere? I mean, it could be somewhere that you've already rode, but you want to go back and experience the whole thing like we talked about already, or somewhere that you haven't even been before at all.
You know, I lurk Instagram as hard as the rest of us. So, boy, do I want to go a lot of places. With Colorado being my most recent trip and my first time in Colorado, I mean, we didn't even scratch the surface, man. We didn't even, you know what I mean? We barely hit one berm up there compared to what they have to offer. So, of course, I want to go back there. Man, Idaho. I don't know why. Matt Hovko has kind of got me on the Idaho kick, and I think the Upshift Online guy was posting some stuff from there. I don't know. It just looks good, man. My bike's wet right now, but places like Hawaii, Indonesia, like all these crazy little bridge crossings people are doing. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to ride in one of those places. That's more of a bucket list.
Wow.
You know, but realistically, I think Idaho would be somewhere. Idaho or Colorado again would be on the list for sure.
Nice. Okay. Well, let's give a little bit of time to anyone that helps you out, any groups, any companies, anyone that you want to give a shout out to. This is your time to just, you know, give thanks back to anyone that's helping you out with your riding and stuff.
Hey Matt, thank you. Hovco, Hoveco, Hovco, thank you.
That's your boy.
And Matt's my boy. Eric's my boy. Eric and his dad, they helped me with the recovery of the bike. I mean, Eric's one of my best friends, known him for a very long time. But Matt, I mean, he's been over here 3 nights, you know, and if you know anything about the 91 freeway, it's not desirable. And he's hopped on it from Corona to Brea to come up and help me. Right. After 3 days, he kind of wiped his hands clean and said, hey, keep my bike, test what you want, ride it in Vegas, but he's kind of not giving up, but huge shout out to him, man. He's helped me out a lot. Everything. He helped me rebuild my forks, just checking my valves, just everything, man. And
that's
Wolf
awesome.
Enduro, I don't need to say it to you. Since I got my bike, man, I bought my first Wolf Enduro shirt and sticker. And when I saw the local pickup, Brea, California, shipping or local pickup, Brea, you know, I grew up in Brea, lived here 30 years. So it's nice, man. If anyone's met Luke, you know, Tarakadak, however you say his name, if anyone knows Luke, he's probably one of the best people you'll ever meet, you know. He's just a genuine person, so I'm super stoked. He's kind of helped me out with a lot of stuff. You know, this dual sport world, man. I come from the Yamahas. I thought I rode desert, but in reality, I rode the track when I was younger and just drank beer and rode the desert a couple years ago. In April 2016, I got this KTM, and fuck, everything's changed, man.
Changed. Yeah.
From the people I surrounded myself with or been surrounded by to the people I met, I mean, it's just been incredible. And all the way back to the recovery in Moab, man, we got to one section that was hell. It was literally a 5-foot wall, and a group was coming down from Mississippi, 6 dudes, and they were coming down for their yearly ride, and they said something. He goes, where are you from? It's California. We're at Orange County. He goes, oh, yeah, we're neighbors. I'm from Mississippi. But they helped us get the bike up, and they offered tools and tow straps and whatnot. But man, this, you know, no one gives me anything. I built my bike and bought my bike, so it's hard to give a shout out to anyone besides Luke and the Wolf Enduro, you know, and Matt. But overall, man, just the dual sport world. This license plate world's a whole different beat, man.
No, I mean that's how we met. We met on a ride, and we rode together. Actually, the funny part of it is that we've been at a bunch of rides. It was so funny because we've been at a bunch of rides. We actually had never met each other physically because we kept on passing each other on the trail and all that other good stuff. And then finally we met each other I don't know, a year ago or so, and actually got to shake hands and hang out. And since then, we've rode again, multiple times.
And that's been the case with a lot of these people I meet online. Everyone, we all want to ride together. It's so hard to make it happen, but
Right.
it's just, this community is incredible. I can't get over it. Just the dual sport community in general has been something else.
I agree so much.
Yeah.
So, real quick, where are you heading to? Why aren't you going to Bishop this weekend?
You know what? I was a little out of the loop on the Bishop dates. I was a little hesitant, having a hard time getting my people to commit. And Luke wrapped it up. Luke threw that invite for Vegas, and we're going to do the Monster Energy Cup, and it was whatever, man. We can go back up to Bishop anytime. Well, not really. It's going to be snowing. I'd say this is probably the last weekend you're going to get it.
Right,
but yeah, it's not that I purposely didn't do it. I just kind of ended up in Vegas for that wolf ride.
No.
And
It was very hard. It was very hard to make my decision because we talked, and it was hard.
I know your reasoning, but I know at one point you were in on the Vegas ride, and then you were off and on, and it's going to be a good weekend. It's going to be a great ride. We got a good 75, 80 miles of single track to put together. It's going to be a dusty day. But Bishop, probably a little better riding, I'm glad we're going to go to the Monster Energy Cup, and it's going to be a great time. But that Bishop riding is good, man. I need to get back up there. That was the only time I've been up there, and I need to get back.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to put a ride together, probably through, for ourselves at some point, and go and try to hit some of the stuff that we want to hit together. So we don't have to wait all the way until next year, but for the next year's Bishop ride. But I'm going to go enjoy myself at Bishop. You go and enjoy yourself in Vegas. I envy that you guys are going out there, but I'm going to hold it down in Bishop for everyone. So, hey, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. I know you're trying to sort out your bike and trying to figure out what you're doing with it. But thank you for, going through your whole, last trip, and obviously through the bad. I mean, when you come back and you're stoked on a cool trip, you want to talk about it. And I know it was one of those things I was like, hey, man, you want to talk about your trip? I know it's kind of a bad scenario, and you're great spirit about it. And I was like, let's do it. Let's talk about it. So I'm really thankful that you jumped on with me and just gave us the whole spiel about it. But I definitely want to go back there. So you let me know when you guys have trips planned.
That's right, man. I got Mexico on my mind right now. I think my next week off will be the last week of April in 2019. I take 4 weeks off a year, so
we are going to go to Mexico before April. Don't even start with that.
The thing is for me to lock in, that's what happened like with this Colorado trip, man, is I got to lock in days. The way my job works is I got to plan it out over a month ahead of time. You know what I mean? So, but nonetheless, I got Colorado on my mind. I got Mexico on my mind. But I also, I wouldn't mind getting that bike running over there. That thing's fully disassembled.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
Couple things.
Get that sorted out, and we'll put something together, man. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, Chris, I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. I can't wait to go riding with you again, and I'm really sorry that you've got bike problems right now. But you go and have a great time this weekend on your buddy's bike, and maybe we'll
Thank
talk
you, Matt.
about it.
I love you.
Matt, you're the man. All right, buddy.
All right.
Thanks, man. We'll catch you later, and have a good weekend.
All right. See you, Nick.
Take it easy.